Okay, good evening, everyone. This is Randy Small, Whatcom County Weather, and we are, I think, live here on YouTube. I will get Facebook up and going, so we'll just do this simultaneously. We have a lot to look at tonight, and hopefully we will be able to get up and going without any issues. I'm going to drop the YouTube link here in a couple of different places on Facebook as we kind of get started. But just kind of let me know if you can hear me okay and everything is going well. I'm just finishing up some broccoli and cauliflower for my snack after working out at the gym. So hopefully try not to eat too unhealthy after the gym. But that was after I had a couple pieces of pasta that I probably shouldn't have had. But anyway, we'll let a few people join on here, and I am going to drop the link in the Whatcom County Weather channel. And yeah, we're live, I think. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Again, Randy Small, Whatcom County Weather. And we are going to go through a lot of different things tonight. We'll probably go over our half-hour limit. So let me know if you can hear me. Let's see. Keith says, good evening. Mickey Blue Eyes is here. Fake Lady May is looking good. Can hear you. Oh, mic is muffled. Okay, yeah, I fixed that. Helps to take the cover off the mic. Volume's much better after what I did. Anthony's here. Riley's here. Kevin J 2K is here. Yeah. Oh, I know who that is. Yep, we're set up. Leslie's here. Steph is here. Okay, good. Hopefully, let me just drop this in one other place here, and then we will get started. I think I'm manning this all by myself tonight because Jennifer was too tired. Not sure if Alex, my neighbor, is going to be on, so it might be just me moderating this whole thing tonight. So let's get started here. We'll look at current conditions, and we will be off and running here. So glad to have you all. Make sure you like, watch, and subscribe. We've gained a whole bunch of subscribers even since yesterday. So 558 subscribers, got 48 people watching. So let's get going here. Quick go through the observations here. Can everybody see my observation page there? Hopefully the Whatcom County map with showing temperatures and observations. So I think everybody can see that. We're showing some southerlies here tonight. Hence the reason the temps are pushing up towards 50, 49. Maybe not so much wind here down in Bellingham area, it looks like, but up into the county. And then up in the mountains here, we got Sumas Mountain gusting at about 22 miles an hour. That's 3,000 feet up, but just about everybody pretty warm here tonight. So ski area, it looks like it's coming in at 34 degrees with a 26 mile an hour wind up at Pandome at 5,000 feet, 32 degrees at 5,000 feet. So, and I'll just zoom out real quick and I think we're going to see about the same thing. If we cross the border, we're up in the upper 40s, mid to upper 40s, and down in Skagit, which we don't have that many stations in Skagit like we do here in Whatcom, at least in the main kind of I-5 corridor, but we've got mid to upper 40s and then up to about 50 out in Anacortes and the islands. We're sitting in that same area down on Oak Harbor area 48. So that's our observations. Let's look quickly at the precip for the last 24 hours. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to zoom in real quick. And yep, a quarter inch here in Linden, about a third of an inch in Sumas, a little bit less as you went closer to the water, a little bit of a rain shadow, and the airport with 0.07. So maybe a little bit less here in this area than what we expected, but right on in the in this area. And then up in the hills or foothills and mountains, you got everything from 0.30 to 0.70 to an inch and a half up at Heather Meadows, give or take a little bit. So that's our observations. I did not pull the year to date. We'll do that another night. But let's look at the Bellingham Airport observations. It has rained every single day in December. And assuming they recorded rain today, which they did at the airport, then we see that would be 7 days in a row of precip at BLI. That'll continue tomorrow and the next day and probably the next day, and who knows about the next day. And I don't know what the record is for consecutive days in December. We'd have to do some digging, but we are at 1.13 inches plus whatever fell today. We are already almost to about a third, or is that about a fourth? anyway, we're well into heading for average, especially after probably what's going to come the next few days. Let's look at the ski area real quickly. It's I just said it's 34 degrees at Heather Meadows, 32. They did have, it appears to be about maybe 4 inches of snow. Let me just check here. Okay, the snow report from this morning at 9:44 was 2 inches of new snow, 6 inches at Heather Meadows, and 10 inches at Pandome. So there you go. And by the way, as I'm talking rather rapidly, just put your comments, questions in either the YouTube or if you're on Facebook. Please do that, and I'll get to you as quickly as I can when I need a little bit of a break from talking fast. But we do have a lot to cover. So again, let me know if there's anything that's not working right, especially on the YouTube. That's kind of what the chat I have up. Let me see here. There's heavy winds. That was this morning. It was snowing at the ski area. Lots of variables yet to come. So at the ski area for sure. Let's take a look at the water, or the IR loop here tonight, and you can see this stretching all the way from the northwest and all the way out here. That's a long atmospheric river full of goodies for us. So you can kind of see that on the IR satellite infrared tonight of what is going to be coming, and we're going to find out, at least get an idea of who's going to get it. Probably the main rain. That's how I call it, and whether we will get some of that, most of that, or not a lot of that. That's kind of what we're looking at tonight in just a minute. So hopefully you could see that without any problem. I guess I better double check. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that is all I want to look at on this. Let's take a look at the forecast then. So I'm going to switch over to the weather bell, and hopefully you see a weather map up there. And we're actually not going to start on the HRRR. We're going to start to look at the GFS real quickly here tonight. And we'll check radar scope in just a minute, but let's just forward the 0Z GFS, the American model, and you can kind of see this as we go Monday into Tuesday. You see this it's just riding this ridge, a perfect setup for an atmospheric river. You see the blues kind of, and this flat ridge here, and it's just riding right into the Pacific Northwest, South BC. That's what we're going to see over the next few days, and that just continues as we go into Thursday. We got this big upper level low, and we're not going to worry about the northeast and the east here, but you can kind of see. And then this ridge on tonight's run wants to kind of try to build. We'll see what that blocks things for about 6 minutes, and then we'll see. Here comes another one. And then we won't go past next a week from today. It's just the potential of more rain after this rain, maybe not as much, is still sitting there even as we end the week. So this could be a long, drawn-out week, especially for the rivers that are headed toward potential major flood stage. So, and we'll take a look at that in just a minute. I don't know. I started late tonight. We'll see if the Euro has run at all very far out. It's run a little bit, but we're going to see basically the same thing. So the Euro is run a few hours out as we go into Wednesday, and yeah, and that's about as far as we'll have. We'll see if we have time to step back and look at that. Let's take a look at the GFS tonight for precip. This is just kind of a general look. It's a low-res model here, the deterministic run here. But let's take a look as we go overnight. The precip is going to start, and you can kind of see if you go back. Well, can I switch back to that infrared? 1 second here. Let me pull that back up, which is going to make me do a couple of things here. Let me pull this one off and see if I can get that infrared. Hold on 1 second. Hopefully I didn't lose it. I wanted to pull up that infrared. Let's see, is that back? It's back on. And you see this infrared satellite view. You can kind of see it coming into, South BC to start with, and kind of us to start with overnight, and then that'll settle into lots of other people. But as I go switch back here, you kind of see that when we go on this map here, going back to the GFS preset map, you can kind of see the rain kind of starts up here, so to speak, and then it settles in, and that's what you're seeing on that satellite. A little bit of a rain shadow going into tomorrow. You can see the Olympics tomorrow morning picking up some precip, and here it comes. But it's really shunted toward the south. The Olympics, we're sitting here in a rain shadow to start with. Now the mountains are starting to pick up. we see this down in the southwest Washington and over into northwest Oregon, excuse me. And still, Monday, honestly, Monday doesn't look like I mean, we're going to have to look at the Euro on this, but not an absolute drenching of a day. But later on overnight, then it starts to pick up. You can start seeing these totals as we go into Tuesday morning. Look at this, 4.65 inches. And again, this is just a rough estimate. And we got multiple inches up in the mountains. Again, that's dependent on snow levels and what's going to fall as snow versus what falls as rain. But we go into Tuesday, and it's really feels like to me the bullseye is more down south. And we already talked about this 3 nights ago, but you can kind of see that. You can see these brown numbers or the brown color picking up. We're kind of just sitting around. Now, Wednesday, we start getting more. But look at these numbers to the south picking up. Okay? And we'll check the Euro to see. But again, these Olympics and right down here, South King County South. I'm not saying Skagit and Snohomish aren't out of the woods. I'm not saying that at all. I just don't think Whatcom County is where the bullseye is. You can just see it. It's all further south. So that to me is a big relief for us, but not necessarily good for many, many others, as we'll take a look at the flood map in just a minute, the gauge map. And then the numbers, this is only to Thursday night, early Friday. We're sitting at 11 inches of rain, potentially 10 inches up in the mountains down here. Look at this. And then we go into Friday, almost 2 inches up here by Friday on this run. So you can kind of see this feels like it's in this area. Again, I probably need to make my mouse some special color or something. But let's take a look at the Euro. Let's just see how far the Euro is out for precip. I got to refresh this and push this onto the, well, maybe the 0Z is not out yet for precip. It should be. Oh, I'm not sure why that's not showing up. Let me try one other thing. That's what happens when you're on the fly. There it is. Okay, 0Z is out part way. Okay, here we go. Sunday night, and you can kind of see it starting up here first, and then it's kind of sags into place more south. This is Monday morning. You can kind of see it picking up mountains and Olympics along Vancouver Island up into South BC. And then we'll just see here, you can start to see the Olympics and down here in Southwest Washington. As we go later into Monday, the European's wetter than the GFS. I can see that already for tomorrow, about a ½ inch by tomorrow afternoon. But you can see it's growing right here in the Olympics. These reds start coming on. We kind of take a little bit of a spell here, not dry, but kind of a few hours off here as we go into Tuesday. And then these numbers continue to stack up to our south. And then Wednesday morning, here comes more. But again, look at this. This is really shunted, and that's the kind of the word I've been using, to our south. And we see that here, in King County and Pierce County and, some of the counties, I don't even know their names, down here. And then, further south and some of these rivers that we'll take a look at in just a minute. And then we got the coastal range of Oregon, and we've got the Olympics. And to continue as we go, this is only into Wednesday. We're seeing 10 inches on this European run tonight. And the numbers continue to grow. But up here, we're holding our own here. 2.41 inches as we go into Thursday. So still a good amount. But look at the lowlands, 4.5 inches down as we head into Pierce County. I don't know what station that is, if that exactly Tacoma Narrows. I'm not sure, but 4.77. I mean, so there's some big lowland numbers, but then you see these 12 inches and 11 inches. So, you can kind of see what's coming here, and it looks to our south. Now, it wouldn't take much to shift that north. So that's why I always say be prepared, be ready. You never know, what exactly how it ends. And these weather models, I will admit, sometimes underdo some of these atmospheric river precip amounts. I'm just going to say that. I'm not saying every time, but I've seen it a few times where they don't quite latch on to the amount that's actually potentially there and coming. Now, having said that, maybe we have some that these 1 to 2 punch, so to speak, underperforms. But it's just something to keep an eye on, especially those who are near the rivers to our south. I think overall the Nooksack, as far as I can tell, unless all of a sudden we get shunted north. But again, we're not sitting at a 48-inch snow base like we were in November of 21. And the amount of rain, the maps were showing like 18 to 20 inches in the North Cascades in that 21 flood. This is showing 6 inches, over the next, well, this is only the next Thursday. But as we even put this into motion, we're not even going to get to 10 inches on this run for through next weekend. They were showing crazy numbers on the weather models in that flood of 21, plus 4 feet of snow at the ski area. That combination just went, But again, look at these numbers. This is not even this is into Saturday morning. We're looking at 12 inches, 13 inches. That's a foot of water or precip. Some of that way at the upper levels might be snow, no doubt. But still, you get the point of how much is potentially coming as we see that. So let's take a look. You know what? Let me pause and just see if there's any comments or questions. Coach Elisa Jenkins says, thanks for doing these. Randy, yep, no problem. Going to be a wet trip to Leavenworth. Oh, that's right. We're back to that. Today was snowy this morning on Highway 2. Stevens Pass, probably saw that on our page that Jennifer had put up. So let's take a look here at the comments on Facebook. Thank you so much for the stars. Very much appreciate that. Very, very much. Tim and Kim says, thank you. Randy, yep, today was warm. Yes, 51. Again, it's the southerly flow, and that's also going to raise the snow levels some. Douglas says, thank you, Randy, for the weather updates. Absolutely. Looks like Kitsap County will get hard. Trisha says, yeah. And then Kitsap, is that where the sky, is it the Skycomish? Hold on, let me think this through. The one that you barely dump any water into and it floods. Yeah, we'll just, we'll take a look at the different maps here. So I'm going to switch over. Let's see if I got this set up correctly here. Hang on one second, because I have like so many different maps up that I need to make sure I got everything set here. And that is the one I want. So let me flip from this weather bell map over to the hazards viewer map. And I hope you can see that fairly big. It's a map of the United States and all the major river flood gauges. Can you see that map? And it's showing different colors, greens mostly in the U.S. Everybody, hopefully you see that. Let me we'll go back over to that. Okay, and let me see if I can move that map. What do you notice when you look at that map? Hopefully I'm going to zoom out. Can you see the whole continental U.S.? What do you notice about that map? Time for a weather quiz. What do you notice about the colors? Somebody wants to, yep, okay, you can see the map. Does anybody recognize what is happening on this map? I haven't, it's just a map of all the flood river gauges. Okay, what do you notice? Let's see, give you about 10 more seconds. Should I play a Jeopardy theme song? Okay, well, some of you might get it here as I'm talking, but what you see is there's hardly any flood river gauges that are near flood stage or any issues in the U.S. except, and Fake Lady May got it, except Washington, Western Washington, and Northwest Oregon. There's a few in Eastern. So as you can see, most rivers are sitting good in the U.S. except the potential of where we have all this rain coming. And so if you zoom into this, and I went over this the other night, but I'll go over this again. These are the map of the major rivers with their flood gauges, and the colors represent different flood stages. Okay, Action is yellow. And by the way, the box, where it's a square box, a square, is the forecast. The circle is the current readings. So all of the rivers are sitting great right now. They're in the green. Okay? Yes, Keith, actually, they are flying the Hurricane Hunter plane right out now. I've got the link for that. So if I can remember to put that up, they are actually doing that. Not because they're going to look for a hurricane, but they're going to drop some data, try to get some data in how with this atmospheric river. There's going to be some issues with this, no matter what. There's going to be some issues. But the squares are the forecast. Everything's green circle, well, except the Skokomish. It's yellow already. But everything else is green circle, meaning everything is sitting there great right now on Sunday night at 9:52. But what we see here are purples. That's major flood forecast. Reds, moderate. Yellows is action. Orange is minor. and I don't know if you can see the far right, but that's the graph over there, and we find a whole bunch of numbers over here, but you can see major flood, moderate flood. I'm on the right side, minor flood, and action stage. Okay, the forecast again. Hopefully you can see this. They have 9 in the major flood, 10 in the moderate, and 16 in the minor, with 29 in the action. So if you count the purples, there should be 9 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's accurate. Okay, what rivers are sitting in the potential of major flood? Let's click on them. Okay, first of all, the Nooksack is only in action stage in all their gauges. So that is really good. Okay, and so we have the Nooksack River at Cedarville is forecasted barely to get to action, and Ferndale is forecasted to get to action, closing in on minor, on and that would be on December 9th. So well, is that Tuesday? Did I read that right? Or December 10th? Maybe it's around, yeah, somewhere late December 9th. It's forecast to go to action stage. Okay, but we're good. All the Nooksack River gauges are sitting good that they're tracking. But now we go to Skagit, and we talked about this the other night. We've got major flood forecasted at Skagit River near Concrete. Mount Vernon is also going to be that. And by the way, they're preparing. I saw some things about that tonight. Skagit River near Mount Vernon is major flood forecast, 32.57. Let's go to the Skycomish near Gold Bar is sitting at major flood stage. Maybe hits it twice coming up this week. Let's see what else. The Snoqualmie near Carnation, major flood stage twice coming up. What else do we have? This is the Snoqualmie River at the Falls, I believe. This is major flood stage. Snoqualmie Falls is going to be nuts. Anybody that gets video and has any way of monetizing that video is going to have some, potential with that. But yeah, Snoqualmie River. And then the other purples on this map are Puyallup near Ordine, and then the Nisqually near National Washington. I'm not even sure I knew there was a National Washington. Then we have the Cowlitz near Packwood, and then the Cowlitz at near Randall. I think that's Highway 12 area. Yeah, it is. Highway 12. And then you got a bunch of reds, which are moderate. Moderate is the reds. And you can search for that. And I'm going to drop, this link. Let's see if I can do this in there. If you, oh, that's right. YouTube doesn't like my long link. Let me put it in the Facebook page, flood gauge link. Okay, let's see if hopefully that works. If not, I'll try to post these again on a separate one. But I got it onto Facebook, but YouTube won't let me post that big link. But you can kind of see there, that's, we're looking at, especially, what you notice is, there's one thing that jumps off the page. All of these, besides the Skagit, are sitting, is at Snohomish County south. Okay? Which, I guess the Nooksack's the only one north of the Skagit, basically. But, it's kind of sitting in this corridor right in here. Southwest, Seattle, King, down in, and then down here into the, the Chehalis River, and then you got the Skookumchuck, and then you see the Oregon ones. They're going to have some problems. I'm really surprised that some of these are still sitting in orange. Yeah, I'm curious to know what happens with some of these Oregon ones, because it sure feels like it's shifted, continuing to go a little more further south, but I could be wrong on that. But, yeah, I just saw the South Prairie Creek. I am not familiar with the South Prairie Creek. I just saw that one. Where was it? Anthony is bringing that up, and I must have flew by that. Oh, yeah, it was, where was it? Honestly, I don't know where that is. I am not as familiar. I know some of these rivers, but anyway, so that's the outlook here and what we're seeing. Again, it seems further south here overall and what I'm seeing. Let's take a look at, hopefully, again, you're still able to see everything. Nope. Oh, yeah, I wanted to point out something over at Western Washington Weather. Western Washington Weather, it's a public group that you can join by Matthew Fab, but he has done probably the post of the day, at least that I've seen. And I probably should just share this to the page before I call it a night. But Matthew is kind of centered more down south. I've met him, and he's very knowledgeable, knows what he's talking about, and he has divided this with the weather models, and he's showing the colored squares and then the wind gusts. We'll talk about the wind in just a bit, but he's got it lowland Seattle North 1.5 to 3.5 through Friday inches. Lowland Seattle South 3.5 to 6 inches through Friday. I think this is a good way of putting it. Cascades and Olympics 8 to 16 inches through Friday. Again, depending, we're probably on the low end of that. Coast 4 to 6 inches. And then he put impactful river flooding. This is well done. The major, look at, he put all the majors. The moderate, there's that South Prairie Creek. And then minor. Okay, he didn't put the action stage, so Nooksack's not on this. We still are under a flood watch. And then Monday we have a wind advisory, and he's kind of put it, with a range of what possibly could see there. The lowlands, the coast, the strait, and eastern Washington. So encourage you, I recommend Matthew Fab to follow him. And so Scott Sistek is a great way of laying that out. And I 100% agree when I saw that. I think Washington Weather Chasers Benjamin shared this as well on his page. I'll share that tonight, assuming he gives me. I guess I think my personal account was on it, but so far I'm still pending on that. But anyway, let me show you. There was one thing. Yes, I want to show you the forecast graphics here. The snow levels. I want to take a look at the snow levels here real quick. This would be into Monday, tonight into Monday, 4,500. And that's about where it looks like it's sitting. This is actually, here's snow levels. Snow levels are actually at 3,700 feet. At 3,300 feet. Interesting. Day 3 has 3,600 feet, so that would be Tuesday into Wednesday. Yeah, I mean, they're pulling this very favorable for, potentially the ski area being some of that snow. Let me take a look at what the snow map it was showing. We did not look at that. So let me switch back over to Weather Bell here. And let's see what I can find for snow. I'm just curious about this. Let's take a look at the Euro for snow. And I'm actually going to zero in on Seattle here, which is going to draw this map in. Okay, here's Seattle. That'll give us a better view of Baker. And this is, I'm going to change this to that. Okay, let's just see what kind of snow they might be giving here. So kind of overnight into Monday, it's just the North Cascades seeing snow, with the snow levels being lower. And then, and again, we don't know the elevation here on some of this. But I'm just kind of curious what inches they're trying to give here. Yeah, a decent amount here, potentially. But again, will it be enough? It's going to be right on the cusp of that ski area. By next week, it's pushing more there. But let me take a look at the ski area and what their temperatures are looking at. Let me pull up the Euro. I'm going to have to pull up the ensemble. Let me pull up the temperature map here for the ensemble. And this is the 18Z, but we got 33, which is kind of about, was it 34? So it's pretty close for tonight. 37 tomorrow, then 33. So not sure how they can get that low of I guess it's the minimum for the snow levels. So that snow level tomorrow will go up some. Tuesday's looking right on the cusp of that being all snow. And then a little bit warmer, 36, 35, and then 39 on Friday. So interesting to see that. I'm going to take a look at the 12Z and just see if... and we got 33, 37, 34, 36, 35. Yeah, some of these days it's probably not going to be snow at the ski area during the daytime. But again, these overnight lows are all around freezing or below. We don't worry about that dip down over there. I'm not sure what's coming next week. But yeah, some of this will be snow at the ski area, but I just don't... What's good here is that these numbers aren't sitting in the 40s. Okay, so that means your snow levels are higher. You got more that's going to melt. This is really good. Maybe we keep that snow around 5,000 feet and we get a snowpack, the Artist Point area. Might not get it all at the ski area, but maybe we can get it and keep those snow levels sitting there, and that would be really good news, honestly. So let me just do wind. Let's talk about wind. I know I have so many different things in my brain to think about here. So let me switch over to the wind map and see what we can find for wind. So let me do that. I have this up here. Here's the winds. Now we do have a wind advisory. Actually, let me step back over. We have a flood watch. Already mentioned that. It's begun now. Or I guess it's 4 a.m. tomorrow through Friday afternoon. That's a long flood watch. But you can see this is going to be a 2-3 day duration. Some of these rivers won't begin to, go up and crest until later in the week. So that's why it's a lot of rivers it's covering. And then we still have a coastal flood advisory for tomorrow morning, and that would include kind of the Birch Bay area, 6 a.m. to noon. Again, it's just calling for some minor flooding. I haven't heard of any issues when it comes to this, with the high tides and then the moon and all that business. And I guess we're past the full moon now anyway, but I haven't heard of any issues. And usually westerly winds combined with high tides cause major problems, especially out of Birch Bay, and as well as down south, and then the coastal areas. And then the other one is this wind advisory. That's what I was just talking about. 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. tomorrow, 15 to 25 mile hours, sustained with gusts up to 45 expected. So, Riley, I will get that link to you in just a minute. Okay? Yes, I will get that link. Of that snow level map. It's over at the National Weather Service off their forecast graphics. In fact, if you want to know where it is, if you go to the National Weather Service, Seattle, and just a quick tidbit, a secret, Seattle's 3-digit code for the National Weather Service is not SEA, it's SEW. Okay? And so the URL is weather.gov/SEW. And if you scroll down, it usually gives, it's got a wind advisory. They've got current conditions. This is like Seattle's homepage, National Weather Service forecast homepage. If you scroll down, you'll see the colorful map, which is kind of these colors are crazy because it looks like this green, which is a coastal flood advisory, is very similar to this flood warning. And it's like there's no flood warnings at all in anywhere. Okay, there's a flood watch, but not a warning. Again, the cupcake, all the ingredients is a watch. It's there. The potential's there. The cupcake, when it's made, finished, completed, ready to eat, that's a warning. And that is flooding is imminent. There's no flooding imminent tonight. So that colors a little bit. That is actually a coastal flood advisory. That's not really a Grinch color green, but whatever color that green, neon. But if you scroll down below that, it'll say local forecast graphics. Okay? And that's where you find the temperature for day 1. Usually day 1 is today into tomorrow. Day 2 is Monday into Tuesday, for example. And then you have, other things, max temperature, minimum temperature, and then wind chill. And then they have colorful maps. And then you got wind. So the day 1, this is where the graphic comes. The day 1 max wind gust, there it is. That's tomorrow's. And this is kind of where they're seeing. And that's where Matthew pulled this, probably from this graphic. He kind of said, okay, they're talking 50 to 55 out of the coast or 40 to 45 at Forks. But he kind of gave a general up and down the corridor here. And then, the purples are, higher gusts. And so he kind of summarized that. So that's day 1. That's tomorrow. It's today. It's 24 hours, Sunday from 4 to Monday at 4. Let me see if I can put this link here to answer Riley. I think that will be that link for you, Riley. And I'll dump that link also into Facebook. So let me do that. And that is the forecast graphics. Okay? So, and again, I'll come back to your comments. Keep them coming. Keep your questions coming. Hey, listen, don't worry about asking, just ask. I mean, obviously, don't ask how many feet of snow are coming at my house tomorrow, because that's not a good question. It's not a question that obviously is going to happen. But if you have a question about the flooding, if you have a question about, general weather, Whatcom County, I don't think the Nooksack is in any danger of major flood. So I'll just come out and say that. Could things change? Yes, we're watching it. But the ingredients are really not there for the Nooksack. But the Skagit looks like it is there. So Skagit County people, if you know the drill for that river at Mount Vernon and Concrete, and be prepared. Let me also say this. One thing I want to say. What happens if this doesn't happen? What happens if the Skagit was forecasted to be major flood and we all missed it? I mean, I'm not the one that puts that forecast together, but I can see why they're, considering it. Although, again, I think of those, the rivers to the south especially, but the Skagit's included. Okay, so we're going to take it. What happens if it doesn't do that? Is that a good reason to get upset? Say, oh man, we missed the boat? Pardon the pun. No, you're happy that we don't have $6 million worth of damage to deal with and people aren't flooded out of their homes and businesses can open on Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever day. We're excited that it didn't happen. None of us want a flood. I'm just going to state that. I want snow, but I don't want a flood because it damages. I mean, it's not what we want. And so anyway, side note. And then, yeah, we got precipitation maps. So you can look at kind of each day how much rain they're thinking are coming. Okay, here's tomorrow's precipitation through, this is Monday into Tuesday, excuse me. And you can kind of see inch, the lowlands. But then, you have to, here's, here's, isn't there a accumulation? It's just daily. They don't have an accumulation, I guess. For the total, you have to add up each of these days to get these totals. And then there's snow accumulations and freezing levels is there. So for Riley, who was asking. Okay, back to the wind. Yep, I think we're all good. You can see this. Tonight's run of the UW. Let's take a look here. Again, this is going to show the southerly is picking up tomorrow, it looks like, maybe in the morning time. And then also afternoon. So that's why they put this advisory. Some of these mountain things are gusting at 50 to 60 mile an hour knots up there in some of these high ridged areas of the mountains. But you can see the southerly gusts here. These are 25 knots. It's about 30 miles an hour. But it's an idea. And then things back off. Looks like maybe turns a little bit west-northwest. Maybe overnight into Monday, and then not seeing a whole lot of wind on Tuesday issues. Maybe later Tuesday along the Strait, and the Strait of Georgia as well. Out in the islands, Tuesday later on could have some definite wind, and then overnight into Wednesday, seeing some more southerlies. So could be a couple days of, especially Monday and Wednesday, we might see some breezy southerlies. So, yeah, there you go. And then we'll stop there for the amount of for the wind numbers. Let's take a look at total precip for the UW weather model tonight for Western Washington. So we'll just, and I'll move this so that you can see it. Okay, let's take a look at this. Oh, nope. Wrong button. Hang on. Okay, here we go. That's through 4 a.m. Tuesday. You can see who's getting, the Olympics, the Cascades, down here, down south. I mean, that's yellow. That's 10 inches by Tuesday morning. Again, this is a guess. This isn't really a forecast. This is a weather model that was run tonight. But okay, let's put this 4 p.m. Tuesday. Here comes Tuesday storm into Wednesday, into Thursday. Let me just run this out to Friday. Okay, I think that's as far as it goes. So through Friday afternoon, 120 hours out, there are a pile of yellows. That's close to 10 inches. There are some grays. Some of these numbers are pink. 17 and a half inches. 15 inches. Up here you see the purple is about 1.5 inches. And then the foothills are thinking, 2.5 inches, and then the mountains. So this color brown right here is 5 inches. So, yes, Keith, that's right. It's a guesstimate, but this is just a model. This isn't really a forecast. It just gives us an idea. But again, you see the colors here, down here south of, Skagit. Again, I'm not minimizing the Skagit potential, but I'm saying right down through here. And this is only Washington. And actually, if you want to see all of the Pacific, let's see, Western Washington. Let me pull up Oregon real quick. Let me pull up Oregon. Here come. Yeah, you can kind of, here, let me center this. Okay, that's the full run. You can see Kelso Longview where it says that in Cannon Beach. You can kind of see those yellows and those salmon colors, whatever that color is, salmon colored. That's a lot of precip potentially coming by Friday. So, are we overhyping this? I'm not trying to, but I'm, for everyone that's, for us who hopefully don't have a major flood, there's so many others that could potentially. But if nobody has a major flood event, over the next week, and it ended up way less rain or way less numbers, hey, let's celebrate that. I'd rather be, wrong and hope that these people don't see these kind of numbers and these major floods today. I'd take the loss on that one, because I'd be excited that we wouldn't have that kind of numbers. But this is really potentially going to change some of the year-to-date numbers for precip. Okay, so let me check. I'm sure there's a couple other things that I could talk about, but let me just check comments. Okay. Oh yeah, Carol is Skokomish River was the one I was talking about. Sultan, Trisha mentioned Sultan, and that often can be an issue for sure. So with flooding as well. Ashton says, Randy, run. Joe Bush has just seen on King 5 Skagit Rivers expect to hit major flood stage, and we did mention that. So, yep, absolutely. I like purple, but let's stay in the purple. No, well, yeah. Oh, you're talking about purple for the UW map. Not the purple for the flood gauges, because purple for flood gauge means major stage, but I think what you're talking about is the purple up here where we're more in the inch and a half range, I think is what Dana is talking about. So, yeah, I hear you. And let's just say, we get an inch to an inch and a half. It looks like the airport's right on the edge. Let's say we get an inch and a half of precip. You add that to what we already have. That's pushing us almost to normal for the month of December by not even halfway through December. If we go back to this map, let's see, hopefully, yeah, and a half or 2 inches. I guess that's not quite normal. 4.3 inches. So it would push us more to 3 out of 4 inches, 4 1/3 inches by the, Friday of this week, which is, the 12th. So with more rain potentially beyond that. So, yeah, we'll see what happens over the next few days. Okay, am I missing anything else? Let me just check to see if there was anything else I could talk about here. Let me just, yeah, I think that's all we're going to do tonight. I think we've covered flooding potential, wind. Let me recap. It's going to be wet, especially overnight, and there won't be, here, it's probably not going to be wet every hour of every moment of every of the next few days. But, a good amount of rain potentially coming. Inch and a half to 3 inches could be lowlands, foothills, a little more. That's kind of a guess till through Friday. Going back to Matthew's Facebook page here. Let's pull his back up. I had it, and I will switch that screen. Okay, I think it's up there. Hopefully you can see that on that screen. But back to Matthew's there, and I'll let me scroll this back up. He's saying north of Seattle, 1.5 to 3.5 for the lowlands, and then Cascades 8 to 16 through Friday. So foothills could be, 4 or 5 inches, kind of in between there, 6 inches maybe. I don't know, but that's a good dose of rain. So especially for this time of the year, but it is this time of the year as well. Dennis asked, do you know the snow levels the next few days? I only know I know the minimum levels that are forecasted. If you can hold with me, let me pull something else up, because that's a good question. Although, let me go back to this graphic. Can you see a Mount Baker snow forecast graphic? Let me make sure. Yeah, you can. So this will help us kind of guesstimate the forecasted snow levels. Okay, so 30, and we can double check and see what they are on the AFD tonight. They might mention it, but a high of 39 at the ski area would tell me that the snow levels are at least 5,500 feet, if that's what they're calling for tomorrow. But then Tuesday's 34. That's that's close to being, and they're calling for straight snow. That basically says the snow levels could be right around the ski area, 4,200 feet. Wednesday, 4,500, 46, 4,800 feet. Same on Thursday. But this is all close, except tomorrow. It's all very close. And the forecast here, 2 to 4 inches, 1 to 3 inches. Monday night, not so much because 1 to 2 inches, 3 to 5 inches, 1 to 3 inches, 2 to 4 inches. So, if you add that up, there might be a potential for a foot, except this Monday into Monday night, or this Monday afternoon into evening. Okay. So let me answer Elizabeth's question about Willoughby Island in just a second. There's one other thing. Bear with me a second. I am going to pull up. You can continue to look at Mount Baker's snow forecast. I'm going to pull up one other thing about the freezing/snow level, and this is going to be a freezing level graphic. Hopefully this will come up for you right now. Yes, it did. Okay, let me just pull this really quick. This is the Nooksack Basin. And actually, I want to activate both of these. Okay. Let me see if you can see this big graphic that's got like a funny looking bar graph plus squiggly lines. Hopefully you can see that. And it is the Nooksack Basin with the European forecast initialized earlier today. But this, and don't worry about this too much, all these squiggly things. I'm going to explain this. Over here on the left is the freezing level, okay, in feet. Now, that's not the snow level, okay? I got that. But the freezing level is sitting, and the average line is green. The green line is on this going up and down. Is, as we go in today, it looked like the freezing level is a little, 6,500 feet. Snow levels were much lower probably than that. But you can see the green line go up on Monday, and obviously it ebbs and flows during the evening hours. But yeah, it's showing, and then it's showing it going way up toward the end of the week. Okay, we're gonna have to watch that end of the week too. Not necessarily for flooding, but you can see, yeah, these freezing levels are fairly high, which means the snow levels. I mean, it's going to be close. Like I said, 4,500 feet, but you can kind of learn that from looking at a freezing level map. We can take a look at the GEFS, the ensemble for the American US's model. Let me just see. And they're saying a similar thing here. Yeah, although they're not as bad looking as you end the week. It looks like they don't have it going up quite as high for the freezing level. But again, snow levels are below that. So I'm sticking to what I just said earlier. When I made that assessment looking at this map. Let me take a look at the AFD tonight, the area forecast discussions. Let's see if strong atmospheric river will impact the area Monday through Wednesday, bringing periods of moderate to heavy rainfall, river flooding, gusty winds on Monday, minor coastal floodings with the astronomical tides are possible for the Salish Sea coastlines. That's us. Wet and unsettled conditions will continue through the end of the week. Okay, key messages. Rain. Strong atmospheric river arrives Monday. The most significant... Let's read this. I have not looked at this AFD. So, the most significant change within the last 24 hours has been the shift in the axis of the moisture with the system. At this time, the moisture plume still looks to shift south briefly on Tuesday. However, the latest guidance has it living back northward into the area Tuesday night into Wednesday. I think what they mean south into Oregon, and then lifting back towards their area, which is the counties, the counties that NWS Seattle covers, which is Whatcom all the way up to Clark, but Clark County itself, Vancouver, Washington, is part of Portland's area to forecast. This will result in an increase in precipitation totals across here we go, Central and South Cascades this afternoon. While this will have an impact to river forecast, the overall message is that it will be a wet first half of the week for the region. Areas generally south of Seattle are expected to see around 2.5 to 5 inches of rain in a 72-hour period. Did you hear that? South of Seattle. Okay? Limbic 6 to 10 inches and Cascades 6 to 10 inches. Locally higher amounts across Central and South Cascades. Up to 12 inches through a late Wednesday night. Wind. Talk about the wind that we just talked about Monday. Coastal flooding. Again, coastal flooding remains possible for the first half of the week. And again, wind, southerlies, I suppose, could add to that, but it's really the westerlies that drive that for the Birch Bay area, in my estimation. But again, we'll keep an eye on that. And then they talk about the long term. So nothing new here. We have gained really nothing new. What we've read and studied here on the maps tonight, we're just kind of confirming that we're not off our rocker, so to speak. Okay, Elizabeth is asking for thoughts on impact to Lummi Island. I would say wind. You might see a good dose of wind tomorrow. Let me just pull this back here again. I have to double check, make sure. Yep, my wind map is up, so you can see that. Yeah, out in the islands, you're gonna see potential for some wind gusts, definitely. So windy southerlies. Again, I've only been on Lummi Island, not a lot of times in my life. So I understand there's some mountains or hills. I got that. I don't know how that works on that island for southerlies and who gets sheltered and who doesn't and where you might live. So just, but if you normally get southerly winds in a wind advisory, then yeah, that potential's sitting there for sure. Precip wise, I'll just pull back to this map right here, and you could potentially be somewhat, this light blue color or whatever shades of blue. These are both, I would consider, rain shadow areas. This area down here is rain shadowed by the Olympics, meaning most of the rain falls here and less falls on this side, similar to the Cascades where you get a lot on the west side and then the east side it dries out. And the same thing, it looks like these Vancouver Island mountains are potentially blocking and making somewhat of a rain shadow here. Now this black squiggly line is the US-Canadian border, okay? The actual coastline is back here. So Lummi Island, yep, I'm looking here. Lummi Island is, sitting there. Is it in the blue or is it in the purple? But, probably less rain on Lummi Island than you would, because you're going to have somewhat of a rain shadow, at least looking at this. So, by the way, Elizabeth, I was out on the island in January. And in fact, I might show you the picture here in just a second of what I took. I got invited to a photography club. And I had a great, enjoyable time speaking to the club. It was just off the ferry at a building, I can't remember, like a meeting hall. And I had a wonderful time, but I had to get back. I couldn't stay the whole time, and they let me talk for quite a while. And I want to come back to Lummi Island and spend some time with my camera. And so, I love that. I love what I saw. I went around the island several times. I got there early, but then I had to leave, catch the ferry, and get home that night. But it was a wonderful time, and I want to actually take my wife out there and scout it out. It's not very expensive to cross, in my opinion, and yeah. And I've been out to the ferry dock many times in windstorms. But let's see if I can pull the picture up here of the one I took out at the island. In fact, I have a sunset picture and everything, but let's see. That was early in 25. And let's see if I can pull this off and share the photo that I got. Let me see if I can pull this off here. Let's see here. Who knows if this will work. Okay, we're going to take this off. Okay, can you see that picture that I took? And the lighting was really, the sun was down by this time. But hopefully you can see that picture. It's of Mount Baker with lenticular clouds and the Whatcom Chief underneath it. I tried to center it, but the lighting wasn't the greatest by this time. But this was, I think, January of this year. So that was pretty cool to be able to pull that off there. What a beautiful... We live in a great place, don't we? It's amazing. So, okay, everybody. Thank you so much. Appreciate you all. Appreciate the stars. Everything has been good. Just catch you on the next time around on the other side. And yeah, have a great night. And we'll keep updating the page. We'll do the best we can. So, is there any other comments, Zach? Okay. Yeah, Zach, I'm trying. Obviously I'm trying to, make this so that here as I finish, I'm just looking back through the comments. But yeah, at this point, the Nooksack doesn't seem to be the prime focus. So again, doesn't mean we might not have localized flooding and urban flooding and Iowa street floods. That's a given. It seems like, but and some low-lying flooding. That's action stage, maybe in the Ferndale, Slater, the normal places. Not Slater, but it's the end of Smith Road, where it always, that low line, well, Slater too, I guess, but some of those low line and some of the creeks, are going to see a rise. The river's going to rise, so, but we'll keep watching. We'll keep a tab on it, and we'll keep updating. Okay, thank you, everyone. Please watch. The more you watch, the better we are. We're trying to get to 3,000 watch hours. We're closing in on 400 and some. But the more people we have subscribed and watching off and on, or just let it run, that's great. And then like, subscribe, watch, all that business on YouTube, and tell your friends. Please subscribe, even if they aren't watching it. The more subscribers, the better. We'll just keep at this. And of course, if we have any storms coming up this winter, snowstorms, we'll be out live streaming as well. And I think that's when we'll probably gain subscribers. And honestly, I don't really want to gain subscribers through a flood. So, we probably would, and we'd get watch hours if it was flooding, but the last 21 flood was enough flood for the rest of my life, to be honest. So, anyway, have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much.